Have you ever wished you could eavesdrop on a conversation with a millionaire? My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a retired project controls engineer and business professor, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in this podcast. I get to ask the questions that everyone else wishes they could. I'm going to find out exactly how they were able to build their empires through automation and outsourcing. And I'm going to break it down in a way that helps you build your business to run on autopilot. Don't miss out on Automate to Dominate. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Automate to Dominate. Today's guest is Tammy Fink, and she is the owner of Blue Water Design. Tammy's a master at getting business owners to create a genuine connection with their audience, which is so important right now that we're all home and nobody's allowed to go out. But she's like super good at teaching you how to both inspire, motivate, and celebrate each client individually, which is something that we've kind of lost. I think we were really, really good at it in the 50s. And as time has moved on, it's just kind of become one conglomerate pool. And we really need to get back to that individuality. So she's going to teach us how to automate this process so that you have super high touch for your clients, but it runs in the background for you and doesn't require anything of you once you set it up. So Tammy, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us.
Hey, Michelle, thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, get to visit with you and stuff. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad we finally got to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you give us a quick background of how you ended up creating this marketing genius?
Absolutely. I had actually been doing graphic design for over 30 years. When I started this journey, I tell people, I didn't really want to be an entrepreneur. That wasn't like a dream goal or anything. I did want to quit my day job, which is not the same thing. Don't be confused about that at all. I work way harder for myself than I ever did for anybody else, you know.
It's so true, isn't it? Oh my gosh.
Looking back, it absolutely is. But I'll tell you, my husband relocated us. I'm actually in Branson, Missouri. My husband relocated us here in 2004. And the company I was working for, I was a corporate designer, and they kept me on for a year while they were replacing me. And by the time that they had me replaced, I had my own client base. I was national, East and West Coast. I had done some overseas stuff. And, you know, it was really kind of a unique experience because I did have that year to kind of work my way into it. And I was helping people, I've worked with some big brands. I've gotten, in the history stuff, I've worked with companies who worked with the brand with Cinnabon and Hershey's and Mighty Mouse, for those of you over 30. But, there's been some really cool things and opportunities that I've gotten to do. And when I came into the online space, wow. I mean, and I know there's a ton of people probably in your audience right now that are going through this same, switch over, and all of a sudden having this realization that there's this online space that they know nothing about, I'm pretty sure even after all these years, right? I've been running my own company for 16 years now. I'm still pretty sure my mom thinks I play Candy Crush all day long. I mean, there's just, they just don't have an idea between in the real world and the online space. And so I had worked with people. In fact, I just finished this last fall. I finished my 5,000th job.
Good for you. Wow.
5,000 jobs.
That's a huge milestone.
I've done everything from logo design to I've designed stuff that goes on the back of a fleet truck, right? Vehicle wraps that do, the big food trucks. I've done some of that. I mean, just little stuff and big stuff and just really, really a wide variety of different types of design. And I've gotten to work with a lot of marketing agencies and web development companies, print shops. All of that being said, I had basically been noticing, well, we could establish these remarkable brands for companies and stuff, mom and pops and big corporations, that we could go in and help them along that journey. At some point, they weren't connecting back into like the real world. And so we kind of figured out, how can we develop something that will allow them to bridge those connections between in real life and online. And so that's really where I started looking at things a little differently. And in our marketing tactic, well, I call it client first, right? We want to think of your clients first. What do they want from you? What are they going to be attracted to? How do they buy into your community and become a part of your bigger brand, right? And I think so many companies want that, but then maybe they don't know how to get that. Does that make sense, Michelle? I mean, I know it's a lot.
Sorry, I had myself on mute, so I'm talking to you and nobody's hearing. So yeah. Yes, it absolutely makes sense, because I mean, you lose that tangible sense, right? When you're in the online world, like your mom says, you play Candy Crush all day, it's not real, right? If you're not like in an office, it's not real. But you've gotten like really, really good at bridging that gap. And I know you talk about giving people M&Ms, right? So explain to me, let the audience know, what are these M&Ms? And they don't mean Hershey's M&Ms, which is actually funny that you said that you work for Hershey, because I grew up in Hershey's backyard. And I listened to Mighty Mouse like every Saturday. It was, so I'm dating myself, but that's okay. So explain to us why M&M is so important and not swag. And then I'm going to tell you a story that happened.
Okay, absolutely. Well, and here I've used this analogy several times, and you actually, the M&M story, I will have to tell you, when I first discovered this and started thinking about it, you can actually get M&Ms with your logo, your brand, your photo on the M&Ms. We'll talk about that. But it's a matter of just sourcing, knowing what you can source.
I think I had a friend do that. I think I had a friend do that for their wedding, and okay. I hate to tell you, it was super creepy. Everybody's like, nobody wants to eat a picture of his head. Like yeah, anyway, sorry.
And I love that. And I've actually had some, I've got some sources and stuff, but I've actually had some with your logos. Logos aren't quite as bad as the head paint. I agree. I'm not really sure where that's appropriate on any level. But, with the M&Ms, it's this. When you give a gift, especially corporate's been doing it for years, but if you take that and put that into the online space, right, or your entrepreneurial world, it needs to be two things. It needs to be memorable and meaningful. And those are the things that help you to bridge that gap. We do it all the time. When you travel someplace and you go to a location, you're going to bring back a souvenir, right? That souvenir ties something physical to the experience. And that's really what we want to bring into this. I'm writing a book. We've been putting that in because they've been doing it, like I said, in corporate America for years. But bringing those meaningful and memorable pieces to your business helps you take it to the next level as far as really connecting with your clients or customers.
Yeah, and I think that's so true. Like, one of the things that you guys do are those like super cool boxes, right? That like I'm going to use like Grace Lever and Russell Brunson as an example. Like, if you do the, 30-day challenge or something like that, or one funnel away, those are like, it's super cool to get that box in the mail, and you feel like it's personal, right? And I know that you have the ability to do that, and those aren't your clients. And so I want to, I don't want to confuse anybody, but like, how cool is that to be able to take your online course and then deliver your, if you have like a booklet that you're going to hand out, or, not a t-shirt, right? Because here's my story, right, of what happened, right? You told me, you're like, don't hand out swag, because I think I've read this on like a Facebook post. You're like, it's going to be this shirt that somebody uses to clean with, right? And I thought, nah, everybody loves my brand. Like, they're going to want my shirt, right? Because it's like, it's my tribe. It's awesome, right? And then I was cleaning in a swag shirt. I'm not going to tell you which one, but I got bleach on it. And I looked down and I went, oh, well, I didn't care about this shirt, so it doesn't really matter. And it's so true, like the meaningful and memorable. Like, it was nice to get the shirt. It was cool. It was swag. But when I ruined it, I really didn't care.
Right. And you'll see, I tell people a lot of times your brand stuff, and it's not that your brand is bad. It's not, that you've got an ugly logo. We're not even talking about that. It's the fact that it doesn't make that connection with people above and beyond that initial gift. But if you have something, and I don't even mind t-shirts, sell a lot of t-shirts, but let's come up with something that has a saying on it, or something that ties your customer to you in a way that they can self-identify. And unless you have that self-identification piece in it, it becomes the first pieces that go into the garage sale, the junk drawer, the, whatever you're putting together. It's kind of one of those things that you're not looking at it again from the client's first perspective. And that's really what makes the difference. It really does. And
yeah.
so,
and to prove your point, right? So I have two pieces of swag, right? Well, I have more than two pieces of swag, but this particular piece of swag that I ruined was literally just a logo of somebody's shirt. But then I have a sweatshirt that says on it, I build gorgeous funnels. And it's part of Launch Gorgeous, which is another company. But had that sweatshirt just said Launch Gorgeous, I wouldn't have connected with it, right? But when I wear it out in public, it's so funny. One of my friends was wearing her sweatshirt out, and an older gentleman came up to her, and he's like, "How do you build a gorgeous funnel cake?" And I just started cracking up laughing because we think we automatically know that it's like a sales funnel and a website and things like that. And he's thinking funnel cake. So it was like funny, but you're right. Like it's the exact same piece of swag, right? But one's personal, like one I identify with, and one's just a logo.
Well, and that's, putting it into your perspective of your audience and stuff too. How do you make that connection? Because we all want to make the connection, right? So how do we make that connection and automate it, right? So part of that automation, especially you can still connect and it can still be heartfelt. But the connection piece, the part that you want to automate, right, is that every person gets the same amount of attention from you. You glean the same information from each of your clients or your customers. You're getting that information in. Do you know their birthdays? Do you have a list when you have all your clients together? Do you know what their birthday is? I mean, we've kind of gotten lazy where Facebook tells us, right?
Yeah, but I still don't know. I probably can't tell you. You could be like, Tammy, what's your birthday? I'd be like, one of the 365 days of the year.
Didn't we just do this birthday thing?
Right.
Right? So, but it is in those type of things. You can automate those processes. You can automate what you do know from your clients. Are you going to send out t-shirts? Then at the beginning of this, when you do an onboarding, right, you need to know what is their t-shirt size, what is, their favorite color, their favorite sports team. I mean, there's so many different pieces in that you can automate and know about every one of your customers. That gives you the opportunity to be able to customize something that's going to speak to them, right? And so it's still custom. It still, feels good. It's a connection piece, but you've taken the time to automate that process. And it doesn't have to be, checklist. It can be things that you discover about them over time that I need to make that note that they've got 2 kids and 3 dogs. And, you need to make that part of the process so you actually know your clients.
Okay. So talk to me about, how are you automating that? How am I not manually doing that? Are you using Google Forms, or what's your little slick tips here?
My tip is that I use Google Forms. I use this is a spreadsheet. I've even taken notes in a notebook that is specifically for my customers. It doesn't have to be streamlined. It doesn't have to be all high-techy. Can be, and there's some really cool ways that you can do that. And there's even some things that you can put as part of your onboarding sequence that with like Google Forms or something you can add to your website, it'll automatically collect it and put it into a spreadsheet for you. So you can totally, in the tech part of it, you can totally go high-tech. But don't let the tech, and we see this so much with entrepreneurs, do not let the tech slow you down. There's no reason for it. You can make, like I said, you will come up with things once you start having these conversations, which is another old term skill, right? But once you start having these conversations, you're going to know what matters to your ideal customer. You're going to know who your ideal customer is because you've had the conversations. So when you're just starting out, don't limit yourself by not having the conversations. I have no customers. I don't know who my ideal customer is. Start talking to people, because you're pretty much, unless you're dog grooming or walking or something that way, you're going to be dealing with people on some level. Find your people.
So talk to me a little bit about that, because I mean, we all know that branding's important, but not like most of us have an idea about branding, but we're not exactly sure how to do it correctly. Like, what would you tell someone who knows they need to get this squared away, but they don't really know how?
A lot of it is going to be in the conversation part, but the branding, just to touch on it too, because it is a little bit, like I said, from my beginning days and all of that. I still do logo design, right? I still put that together. And people, we have Canva, there's so many different low bar resources that we have to build our brands and to build our logos and all of that. The number one thing that I see people over and over, my own clients, in there as well, that see people that make the biggest mistake in branding and logo design is not coming up with a creative brief before they design their logo. So they end up with logos that, oh my gosh, that's my favorite color, right? But you don't know why you're building it. And so a creative brief, what that does is that allows you to answer all the questions about color, about what's going to actually attract your clients to your logo. What brands are they already buying that you don't have to like make a big stretch? And I'm not saying, do the same Coca-Cola logo. That's not what I'm talking about. But if they're already attached to a specific brand, if you know about your customer because you've asked them, you've had the conversations in Facebook. Facebook's perfect for this. Ask, are they Starbucks people or are they Dunkin' Donuts people, right? Those companies have spent billions of dollars researching color and the things that attract their customers. They're two very different brands, fairly similar products. So where is your customer? What are they already attracted to? What are they already buying from? What's repelling them? They don't want to be a part of that flashy brand. They want something that's more earth friendly. That can make a difference in your brand. And again, it goes back to customer first, right? What is going to attract? And that was my comment about people at this point where they make that mistake is they design their logo to match the couch. I always say never do that. It's about attracting your ideal customer. So you really need to be looking at it and thinking at it from that perspective, not what you want to put out there, but what's going to bring more people to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, it's a great point. Like, that's an awesome example, right? Because it's Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. They're pretty much both selling coffee, right? But Starbucks is selling the experience of come in and sit down and have a meeting and let's chat. And it's a cool environment to buy a Starbucks cup of coffee. Whereas Dunkin' Donuts, like they actually have a guy running in their logo, right? It's the grab the coffee quick because you're on the run and you want something good, right? So it's both coffee, but completely different audiences. That's a perfect example.
Well, and I think that, like I said, most people can relate to that one on one place or another. And, there's always going to be those conversations like, well, I don't know, what coffee my ideal customer is. And it doesn't mean you can't sell to everybody. But specifically when you knit, and this goes down into the overall branding picture, right? When you're niching down, right? And I'm from Missouri, so it's niche. There's a T in there. But when you're
is it a roof, down, not a roof?
Your ideal customer is, right? The idea isn't that you can't sell to everybody, and it's not like a 35-year-old woman, blah, blah, blah. It's putting together who you're attracting to you, who you can best serve, because you can't serve absolutely everyone. And at this stage, and especially starting out, pick one, then you're marketing to that one demographic and sociographic. You're not trying to blanket to everybody. You'll still, I work with men and women. My brand is like pinky pink. It is way out there. It doesn't detract men from working with me. A lot of my customers are men, but it does help me to stand out a little bit in the marketplace, and the people that I want to work for and work with have to understand my quirky sense of humor and my oddball stuff. But when it comes down to it, I'm very serious as what we offer and how we can help you to develop your brand. Doesn't have to look anything like my brand, right? Because that's not what we do. And so when we're looking at, we actually walk along with our customers, right, our clients, and we say, let's learn about your clients. Let's learn about who you're attracting. So you've got to know that stuff, from the beginning. Even if, I don't say make it up, have conversations, figure it out who it is you want to work with and who you don't want to work with.
So I believe you have a really, really cool freebie for this, right? So I'm sorry.
I do.
Yeah. So tell us about our top 3 tips. Tell us about that.
Okay. And I'm going to give you, like I said, I'm going to give you some tips, and then I'm going to give you a freebie that has a few more. And what this is about your logo. We're going to take that particular item and we're going to look at it and say, is it serving you? Is it attracting your customers to you? Are you being able to deliver what it is that you have to offer and still fill in all of those little details that make you unique, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Even if you already have your logo, this is for those people because people are like, oh, I got my logo, been having that for years. Are you doing some of these things with it? First thing I want to say is, are you taking that logo and is it high quality everywhere you go? If you designed it in Canva, you're not going to be able to take it from Canva and put it on the side of a bus, okay? Or you may not need a bus, you may be all the way online, but even your online people, you have to have in the back of your head that there's a good chance at some point you're going to sponsor something. You're going to do a trade show. You're going to do an event. You may do your own events. So you're going to need to take your little bitty only online logo and be able to expand it. You're not going to be able to do that in Canva. So when you tell people, oh, just grab it off my website, never do that. Because that logo gets floated out there and then all of a sudden people are printing with it. You cannot use the same size logo from web to go to print. So you need to know that.
You can. It just looks like crap.
It does. And you can
and then you look like crap.
A designer. That's one of my pet peeves. But I can tell and look at a logo and go, oh my gosh, that's totally, and I've had people tell me that. Oh, just grab, I know I need a Chamber of Commerce ad. Just grab it off my logo off my website. Do not do that. So that's my first tip, is know what types of font files that you have available. If you've gotten from a designer, know where those are at. That brings up my second point. Know where that's at.
Yeah. Okay. So they need an EPS file or what file?
You need to have a high resolution JPEG image. That's fine. That'll get you through a lot of the stuff that you'll do, even some of the printing that you'll do online. If you're going to do anything with signage, banners, anything that's larger than this, even some of your t-shirts, depending on what you do with your logo, you're going to need that in what they call a .eps file, right? Those files are going to be files that you get from a designer. A designer can sometimes redo yours if you've done it in Canva, and they can build it in a higher resolution. I've done that for lots of clients. If your web designer designed your logo, you're going to want to have somebody recreate it at some point. But yeah, an EPS, a .png file is something that's been fairly new in the last 5-10 years that we didn't have back in the day. But that file is nice because it has a transparent background, a clear background. Yeah. So
that's
you can lay it in on the top of a lot of other things. You'll see that a lot in web. You'll see it, put together and stuff that way. Again, it won't go on the side of a bus, but it'll at least get you started, with something with a transparent background. So those are probably my 3 basics that you'll need as far as putting it together. Most of the time, designing something in Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, if you're going to just DIY it, that's something that you can do and be able to get it into the file formats that you need all the way across the board from web to print. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Tell us about the Legendary Logo Bootcamp. What is that and what do they accomplish by going through that?
What I did was I took into account that a lot of people are wanting to DIY their logos, or they're going to hire a designer, whether that's, an inexpensive somebody, whoever that is. What I saw happening in the marketplace was you'll see it all over the place. You'll see people post up their logos and go, oh, I'm designing this logo and this logo and this logo. Which logo do you like best? I mean, if you're involved in any entrepreneur group, you're going to have somebody that comes across that way. What happens is they're not designing that really with their end user in mind, right from the beginning. They're looking at just trying to get popularity of who likes my logo the best, or I don't really know what I want. There's different reasons for doing it, and I know some of it, is even just clickbait at this point.
Yeah, but I'm guilty of that. I mean, it's totally true. Like, not the clickbait part, but when I was running on autopilot, I made like 4 different logos, and I was like, hey guys, which one do you like?
Right. And it's not bad to get feedback. I'm all about getting the feedback. But what I did is I developed a course that allows you to go through a worksheet, right? And I go through a lot of video with you, kind of showing you different real world examples from clients and different perspectives that I've had throughout the years, and why we've designed some of the logos the way that they are, And it's everything from the color of your logo to the fonts that you pick, all of these different pieces and parts. You have a workbook that you fill out. And at the end of that, you will have a creative brief that will be what you want to use to attract your customer to you, and how you can set that up to talk to a designer. Because I mean, I can't tell you, one of the phrases I ought to have on a t-shirt is, I don't know what I want, but I'll know it when I see it, right? We get that all of the time. You'll hear that. But the point with that is they haven't done their research. That's what that says to a designer. There's this gap that you've got to do from your creative, whoever that's going to be, and it may even be yourself, and that's fine too. Once you've decided that this is why you've made that decision, that there's actually a reason behind it, and it starts with your client first, right? Figuring it out from their perspective on what they want, how you can use it, what file types you need, all of those pieces and parts we cover in the Legendary Logo Bootcamp. So it's not about getting your logo, right? You're not going to get a logo at the end of it, but it's a way that you can go through and make all the decisions necessary before you hire a designer. It's going to save you a ton of time. It's going to save you the expense of having to have it redone at a later date because you realize, oh my gosh, it doesn't, do anything for me. It's not attracting. People will say, oh, your logo doesn't matter. It only doesn't matter if it's not attracting your customer, right? If it's going to attract your customer, it matters.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say your logo doesn't matter. That's really funny.
I've heard.
Somebody really, that's shocking, because that's pretty much your first face forward, right? So how does somebody find the Legendary Logo Bootcamp? Where do they go to get it?
You can go, and I'll drop a link and stuff too. You can go to legendarylogobootcamp.com. I also have a freebie if you do already have your logo, and I've given you a couple of tips, on logo design and things that you need to know about your logo. I've got another source for you that's just a logo tips. It's like 3 tips, and I'm happy to give you guys that as well as a free gift. It's just a little ebook and stuff that you can go through just to be sure, are you doing these things that's going to help you keep consistency within your brand. It's going to help you really put your best foot forward. And so I want to be sure that people are doing that, even if they have their own logo, if they're not rebranding. Right now, we're seeing a lot in the marketplace. I'm seeing a lot of people taking the time, because they've got the time to take, right, to rebrand and redo their logos and stuff. Now, by the time this airs, I'm not sure, where all will be in that. But by the same token, if you have the time to sit down and really reconfigure your logo, or if you're going to do a product, right? If you're going to do a course, if you're going to do something that way, you may be looking for a second or a third logo. And how does that play, in the umbrella of your company and all of those? There's a lot to logo design. And like I said, be sure that you're crossing the bridge and stuff between products that already exist and new products even.
Okay, we get to the point where we have a killer logo that is client specific, right? Not just because I like the color purple, right? So how do I fit that into really knocking my clients off their socks and just wowing them? Like, how do I bridge the logo and the individuality and put that piece together so that I'm able to really make something cool and experience for them?
Well, and I think that's a really good question, because what happens, you have your logo, and what that logo is going to do is tie all of your products together, whatever that is. It's going to let people know, as part of your branding, right, that this particular meme or this particular event or whatever is sponsored by you, whatever that is, it has your company logo on it. There's nothing wrong with the company logos and stuff, because like I said, that keeps a consistency across your brand. Where you want to take it to that next level is when you're looking at your customer overall, right? And you're trying to figure out who that customer is, what they would want from you, how they can be a part of your movement, your community, whatever that is. There's going to be languaging that you can use. There's going to be things that people, they call themselves, right? I've been involved in several groups. When funnel hackers, right? Use the funnel. You have funnel hackers. They are actually, it's not necessarily that they have the funnel hacker live t-shirt type thing. It's that they self-identify with being a funnel hacker. So it's putting those pieces in it to use Richard's his stuff. But it is taking a look at that. If you're, maybe your people in the entrepreneurial world and stuff, I've seen the really cool ones where they basically say and adopt the fact, I'm an entrepreneur. right? You're not going to Walmart and getting an entrepreneur t-shirt. So what you're offering them is something that says, I'm an entrepreneur and I belong to this group. So your logo doesn't have to be this big. It can be tiny. Depending on what it is, you may not even need your logo on it at all when you do those touch points. I tell my clients, if it's got your logo on it, it's not a gift. Because it's not, you know what I mean? There's no tie to that. There's no piece and part of that. It becomes a piece of swag. Now, I'm not saying, like I said, there's not times to do the logo, but for the most part, it's like, is this marketing or is this a gift? And even in the gifting part of it, they can still market for you. It's awesome if all of a sudden you get a box in the mail, right? You're just like super excited and oh my gosh, and you get on, you do an unboxing. People are seeing your brand, they're seeing your stuff, and they're telling other people about it. Well, then they're talking about your program, then they're telling their friends, then they're showing other people, then they're wearing it. Or I tell people, if you can get in their closet, if you can get on their desk, or if you can get in the kitchen, right? You've become a part of their lives. And that's really where you're trying to bring that to the next level. That's going to get people, that's what brings raving fans,
Yeah,
right?
and
that's what makes that conversion.
And so you showed my next question is that you've kind of created something that's like something super amazing for clients and you call it the wow box, right? So what is the wow box and how do we make it as business owners and why do clients think this is amazingly cool?
I think that, like I said, when I come along and I work with my clients and stuff, I go through and we figure out who their client is and what they want. How many touch points do you want to figure out over the year? How much, what kind of return on investment are you looking at? Because you're going to have a budget, right, to be able to put this together. Whether you DIY it, whether you hire somebody like me or work with another agency, when you're putting all of these pieces together, you're looking at what is the customer journey going to be, right? So like with my wow boxes and stuff, that's for my clients and stuff that I send out to my own clients that says, hey, this is something that's a little bit different. I've thought of you. I do mugs. I don't have one down here, but I have mugs and stuff that I've done, not just the mugs that have the coffee mugs, right, with the name on the side and all of that, but I actually have handcrafted pottery mugs that I send out to my clients, which I absolutely love, and it's something that I get people telling me, I drink my coffee every morning and think of you. It doesn't have my brand anywhere on it, right?
That's cool.
But they connect the pieces because I've allowed them to connect the pieces as to what I want them to do.
You kind of have a pottery in though. Like that's not fair.
Okay, I have a pottery in. But you don't have to. I mean, I've done specific products. I had some copper bracelets made that had fierce stamped into them or whatever that I sent out to a group of women and stuff for a client that we kind of went through those pieces and stuff. So it is, like I said, you can look at other places. Etsy's a great place. I mean, if you're going to look for places, it's just a lot to take on. I will tell you, I know people that send out their own training materials and do a lot of that stuff, and it's time consuming. So we have a source through our Wow Factor program where we actually go through, and like I said, it's all automated from ordering. If you have a group of people that you're speaking to and all of that, we do all the automation process from the design to the creation to the order fulfillment, and everything gets shipped directly to your customer. You don't even have to deal with that part. So I've done in the bigger things, I've done a lot of that heavy lifting so that you don't have to DIY it. But starting out, just to you can do a letter, an envelope, and a card, right? 50 cents. You can take the time to say, hey, I'm thinking of you. It is one of those deals, again, this is not a place for you to throw your logo on everything. This is a place for you to be able to be heartfelt, handwrite it. If you don't want to handwrite it, and your handwriting is horrible, happens to a lot of people, there's handwriting fonts all over the place that look really similar, and you can sign every one of them in a different colored pen, call it a day. But you don't have to make it, so you can make it as easy or as difficult as you want. There are places and stuff, like I said, that we go through, and the clients that I work with, we put together, like I said, do you want to send out birthday cards? We set that process up for you. It's all automated. Do you want to send out, a gift, a mug, cupcakes? We can send cupcakes in the mail to your people. So, I mean, there's so many different sources of things that you can do. Again, it's about who your customer is, what kind of feeling you're wanting them to do, what are they wanting to relate with by the time they get done working with you, right? How are they self-identifying? Are they part of the team or the tribe or the community, whatever that is? And are they kind of coming into it with an idea that they're a part of something that's bigger than themselves, and they're thrilled to tell everybody they know about it.
Yeah. So let's say like I'm just not a creative, right? It's just not that part of my brain. Like some people have it and some people don't. Like, is there anything that you have that could maybe jog our creative juices for implementing this in our own business?
Number one, I'm always thrilled to jump on coffee chats, happy to visit with people about what they're doing, because I think that it is such a personal piece. I know that there's opportunities and stuff out there. Like, I don't want to think about it. I want to spend $50 on a box. You just do it. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there like that. There are some things that you can just buy these generic boxes and stuff and put everything together. But if you don't have the creative part of that, I think taking the time, working with somebody, even a member of your own team, to figure out who are our people and put a little bit of that creative juice in there from somewhere. Even if you don't have it yourself, there's tons of crafty people out there. There's tons of things that they can do. And listen to the responses that you're getting back. You don't have to order 100,000 of these things. You don't have to have pins with you. Don't get me started on the pins with your name on them. Good to have. If you're going to include a workbook or a journal or something you want, I'm happy to do that. But just to throw a pin is not a gift. It's going to go into, where's my thing? It's going to go into this.
I have one of those. Right? Exactly. Yes.
We've all got these. We all know this is where pens go, right?
And like there's pens in there that are like 10 years old at least.
Right. I don't even know if they're You never look at them. And if you use them, you don't think fondly of the person who gave them to you. That just does not happen. That aside, that's my pen story. That aside, when you're deciding on something, listen to who you're sending it out. Do 10 or 12 of them. See what kind of responses you get back. Are anybody saying anything? I create wows for a living. That's what I do, right? If you're not getting wows back from your people, we need to talk. There's reasons, if you send out 10 cards and nobody even mentions that they got a card from you, there's a disconnect, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Tammy's being a little bit modest here because she's really, really good at this. And she has like a brochure that has like tons of ideas in it that she has been gracious enough to say that, she will allow us to look through it to kind of jog our memory. But I would also strongly recommend the coffee chat too. Like I did that before we did this podcast, and that was a really cool half hour of just kind of, throwing ideas back and forth. And it was a lot of fun. So if you guys are listening to this, all right, how do they get a hold of a coffee chat with you?
You can actually jump on my website, bluewaterdesigns.biz. I actually also have a group online called the Biz Besties Community, which allows people that are coaches or people who have people to support. This is a support group for you. And so it is about talking about things that are working in your business and things that aren't working in your business, and how you can, look at what other people are doing in similar, businesses, your coffee businesses, your Starbucks and all of that. You can take a look at similar businesses and saying, this is really working well. How can I make it something that I can offer to my clients that's my unique customer experience? And we could get off on a whole conversation about creating unique customer experiences. But this is part of that, right? This is those baby steps going into this, your logo, your things that only you can deliver in a way that only you can do for your customers. Your customers love you. And so it's figuring out how do they get to tell other people about you? How do they work their way through? You mentioned, the going through my WOW book. It's neat to be able to see what other people are doing and other ideas that you may not have. But I think at the end of the day, it is taking a look at the customer and what are they going to want to remember you by, right? Again, meaningful and memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, kind of hits the nail on the head of our whole conversation, is if it's just going to be okay, don't do it. Like it needs to be wow, right? Mm-hmm. Speaking of wow, you and colleague/friend Don Fobb are about to do something absolutely crazy.
It's Facebook's fault. That's if you haven't talked to Don, both of us will say it's Facebook's fault. Don and I met online on Facebook, having a conversation about tiny houses on wheels. I mean, it was nothing to do with anything that we do. And we started having this conversation, which grew into an idea about how we could what if we could travel, spend a couple of weeks traveling? And what if we could do business while we were doing a couple of weeks traveling? And what if we could make a difference in a lot of entrepreneurs' lives? So that based this idea, pre-pandemic, pre-everything, but we came up with the idea of we're going to travel from Texas to Toronto in 14 days and hit 12 cities. Within those cities, we're going to be working with small business organizations to sponsor and develop conversations, training opportunities within each of those communities that we can go to people and we can talk about everything from being a healthy entrepreneur. I mean, Dawn's got some fantastic stuff with that. I mean, she is just spot on, dealing with the business stuff. She's written multiple books, bless her heart. She's got it all out there, but we're going to be delivering those kind of connection points. I'm going to be coming in, talking about the unique customer experience, talking about building your logos and all of that. At this time, we don't have the 12 cities laid out yet. We will have by the time this airs. And that's going to be our Entrepreneur XP for experience, Entrepreneur XP tour. And we'll have the website, you can jump on that. We got more websites in this interview than anything. I got a list of stuff for you.
Exactly.
Good things. And we would love to meet, each and every one of your viewers, listeners and stuff. If they're in the cities that we're going to be hitting again from Texas to Toronto, get on a map. Chances are if you're somewhere between here and there, we're going to stop in. We'll be spending an afternoon. We'll be doing some trainings. Then we'll also have a VIP event. We're bringing out a coach bus, and we'll be able to bring on 25 women, sign up for an extra special time with us where we're going to be doing some masterminding.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
We're super stoked, super excited about it.
So if somebody wanted to look up the tour dates, do you have the website address yet?
We'll have, by the time this airs, it'll be entrepreneurxp.com.
Okay.
And we will, like I said, I'll get you that link too as we kind of go through. But it'll have like where we're going to be, everything. There'll be pre-purchased tickets and stuff. It won't be any on sale at the event. Everything will be done pre-hand. We've got T-shirts. We've got cool entrepreneur T-shirts. We would. So there's a lot of pieces and parts to that and stuff. Like I said, I'm finishing a book called The Wow Factor this spring. That's going to be coming out. So yeah, there's just, like I said, there's a lot going on. And it's been great, that this pandemic has hit everybody. And, it's kind of one of those deals I do want to attribute to it. And hopefully by the time this gets out there and stuff will be done, it'll just be history. But it's one of those things that as entrepreneurs, we're all about the pivot and figuring out how we can still do. I did a post this last week that basically said, look, I'm open for business. You need to let people know that you're open for business. It's not that you're out, I love, the whole toilet paper stuff where people are, buying toilet paper cheap and selling it high on eBay. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being available to our customers and to potential customers who we know are going to need us. You've got people coming home from the first time. They may not go back into the workforce. They're going to need to know how to do some of these things. They're going to need to know for the basics how to work from home, right? How to dress from the waist up.
Exactly.
These things that we can help train them. If we shut down, then there's nobody there that help them walk and take the next steps. So, there's a lot of things going on, and we're super excited about the future, super excited about some of the things that we're going to get to offer people. And, we're living the dream, we really are. And I think that's part of this. That's the thing that we want to help other people learn how to live the dream.
Awesome. So besides the wow factor, right? Because it's not out yet. If you could give an entrepreneur one book to read on just really connecting with your clients, what book would that be and why?
That's a great question. And I love the answer to this one. I actually have two. My first one though is by an author by the name of Joey Coleman. He's done how to get the word right. Never Lose a Customer. Is what it's called. Never Lose a Customer. Joey Coleman. Love that book. It is from the perspective of corporate America. Again, this is what I'm hoping to be able to deliver for the online workspace, but it's basically in that same vein, but it's all about how you deliver at different pieces and parts of the sales cycle. And I love that story. That's a really good place to start. The other one is Giftology. by John Rowan. If you haven't read Giftology, another really, really good book. Christian company, love that. They have a very high-end gift program, but it's still, like I said, you don't have to necessarily deliver at a huge scale. You can do something that's small and tangible, meaningful and memorable to your client. It's going to make a difference, right? It's going to make a difference in their world, and getting that, you don't have to have 100,000 raving fans. You can do a lot with 20, 25 people who just think you're amazing, right? There's a lot that can be done with that. So as you're building your business, don't be, disheartened or put things off to think, I'm going to do this when I'm bigger. I'm going to do this later on when I have more money. If you have a paying customer, you can figure out a budget, and I will tell you 5 to 10% of what they're paying you. And if you need to raise your prices, raise your prices. You need to be delivering at such a wow factor level, right? That there's going to be things that you're going to be able to put back into them that is going to raise that love for you and the brand and your company that you can't buy, and it's going to keep that at a high enough level and stuff that it's going to be a no-brainer when it's time to renew or take them to the next product or do whatever, because they already love everything that you've done, and those are the customers that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's so true, right? Because some of us are like, oh, we're not big enough to do that yet, right? But, let's say you have a product that's, $500, 10% of that is your $50 box, right? And now, are you able to do that like on demand, or do we need like 25 at a run, 100 at a run? How does that work?
With my program, I start with the 25-person run, and that just makes it so that it's doable for me. And like I said, I can kind of go through, and we can budget specific things just depending on how much money you're wanting to put into it. I can let you know what we can do for that. Again, I do want to come at it from the idea of who your client is, because I think that adds that extra special touch to it. But it can be things, we've done planners, it can be things like journals. It can be, a lot of authors will have their book, and we can create a separate product for them to either upsell or to have a VIP experience, or to add, just a bonus to it, which it might just be a journal. And it's not like a journal, just like you just go to Walmart and get a journal. It's a journal that has sayings maybe in it that from your customers, what they've said, quotes and stuff from particular industries that you like and that you want your people to learn about. I don't mind, like it's a Joy Coleman's book. I don't mind. And if every person that I worked with from now on only read his book, I would be thrilled, because the concepts of what I'm trying to teach are in that before I even write my own book, right? So as you're looking for those specific pieces, you can add things. Affirmation card decks, huge. Adult coloring books, huge. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do that really, like I said, bring it to the next level, that it's an activity, that it's something that they're thinking of you, that you're monitoring their progress. The planners, and I've got more information on a planner. If you've ever wanted to do a planner, I've got a course on that. But there's things where in the planners, it's getting your people's eyeballs on your material every single day. It's a higher accountability. I mean, there's so many benefits to doing that, right? That it just makes sense. So if you have, I say 25 to 2,500 people, if you have people that you're trying to do a product for, try to bridge that gap, then like I said, that's an ideal customer for me, and I can jump in and really help you through all of the pieces to that. And even if you have your own designer, we can work with other people's designers. It's not an all, or nothing, but it's very customizable for each person. And that's my connection points.
That is amazing. Tammy, thank you so much for being willing to be transparent and give us like real tangible hands-on advice that those of us that think we're doing it right but not really doing it right, get us back in line and really, really be able to serve our customers, because that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. So thank you very much for being on the show and for everything that you shared with us today.
You're absolutely welcome. I love it. I love hanging out with the cool kids. It's just what I do.
So everybody, don't forget, you can catch up with Tammy on our website at bluewaterdesign.biz. And just like we said, we covered a ton of links in this podcast. You'll find them in the show notes. So just go ahead and in there. And don't forget about all the awesome freebies that she gave us today. So other than that, we will catch you guys next time. Thanks. Thank you for tuning in to the Automate to Dominate podcast. at www.awesomeoutsourcing.com/podcast. My name is Michelle Thompson.